driving their financial future with Beth Prudence. Beth Prudence is actually local. She was originally raised in Rochester, New York, and came to Cornell University in the fall of 1984. She pursued academics as an independent studies major in a college of human ecology. So she actually got to choose her coursework and subjects and sparked her interest and diversified her educational experience. During her senior year, she moved to New York City to experience working in fashion and design. But she came back to upstate New York to launch a 20-plus career in personal finance. This has allowed her to be an active participant in the Ithaca community, and she has past board member experiences at the Tompkins County Public Library Foundation, the Child Development Council, the McGraw House, and the Ithaca Montessori School, Cornell's College of Human Ecology, and she's also the president of the Cornell Club of the Ithaca area. So throughout her long career in finance, she's held many roles, and she works to help people make good decisions when it comes to their money. Hopefully she'll be able to help us with that today a little bit. She's passionate about organizing and analyzing finances, setting goals, and helping people develop strategies for financial plans. She currently works at Morgan Stanley, where she joined in May 2014, and she's lead advisor of the Blenrock team, where she serves as vice president, financial advisor, portfolio management director, and a certified financial planner practitioner. Please join me in welcoming Beth today, and we'll get the presentation started.
Thank you, Marika. That was very nice. Actually, it sounded pretty good. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. So I don't know how many of you were able to attend the last speaker series. I was here and had the honor to listen to the talk by Dr. Susan Anderer. And her talk was how to successfully launch into your adult life. So this is an appropriate follow-up to that because some of the characteristics that she pointed out that help you successfully launch to adulthood were becoming financially independent and managing your own finances. To achieve any of those steps, what we have to do is think and spend some time and energy kind of around money and what money means to us. You know, why is this important? And I think you know why this is important, but I want to point out a few things for you. Mainly marriages. Money has a lot to do with decisions to get married or perhaps to end marriages. My husband was listening to this speech when I was preparing, and he said, well, why don't you tell him what I tell everybody else? And I'm like, oh, great. So he says, I married the first time for romance, the second time for finance. So we know money has a lot to do with partnerships and families. Also, the decision to have children, not to have children perhaps, how to raise our children. Maybe the decision of buying a home, where we're going to live, or money could have a factor in where we can't live, even though we would like to live there because it's possibly too expensive for us. Money has a factor in choosing a career. I'll tell you a personal fact on that, and that's my own story. So as you heard from Marika, I was down in New York City, and fashion industry, thought it would be fun. Decided New York City wasn't for me, so I got into marketing and advertising. I was here working in Ithaca in marketing and advertising. Do you think I could move up in marketing and advertising in Ithaca, New York? I don't think so. So I had a decision to make. I either had to move if I wanted to further my career or make more money. So money was a big factor in that decision. And that's what got me actually into the financial world. As I wanted to stay here in Ithaca, I just met my now husband. And this was a career that I could move up and also make more money. So money comes into a lot of our decisions in life. And you know, maybe it came into your decision to come here to Cornell for grad school. I don't know. Also, we know money buys things. Money buys stuff. But I might argue that money can also play a role in perhaps buying time. How do you say? We can't go to the grocery stored by time. Time can't be generated, time flies by and it's gone. But think of it this way, just a small example. You pay somebody to clean your house. You're actually buying yourself more time because that would have been time that you would have spent cleaning your house. Perhaps money buys power, respect maybe. But we know for sure that money changes lives. It can be positive, it can be negative. So I thought it was important that maybe we spend a little time talking about money, because money is important. Now, I have an agenda. You can forget the fourth part of this agenda, compliance goals. I can't change the presentation, so it's up there for compliance goals, but I'm going to concentrate on 1, 2, and 3 with you today. My goal is to help you think and understand how your feelings and emotions about money affect how you act. So let's talk a little bit about a relationship with money. One of the things to think about is, how does money make you feel? Some families never try or never even attempt to talk about money with their kids. And I bet you don't go up to somebody in a networking event and say, hi, my name is Beth, how much money do you make? That's taboo, that's not what we do. So a lot of times we're raised really not talking or learning much about money. Like Dr. Anner said, when we launch into adult life, we need the skills to, prosper and be successful as an adult. And one of the things is education about those things that we're going to face. How many of you might have had a financial planning course in high school? Raise your hand. 2. How many of you have been able to take, I think there's one personal financial planning course left in Cornell. How many of you have taken that one? 1. So 34 years ago when I was here, at Cornell, I'm still here in Ithaca, but at Cornell, there was a personal financial planning course. I won't tell you what I got in it, but there was a personal financial planning course. And that was very helpful, gave you the basics. So many of us are launching into our adult lives with no kind of basis for how to handle money. And it can be very complicated, and you can see here, if you want answers to these questions, you need data, you need information, you need to know how to tackle these questions. And most of us aren't given the resources or given the opportunity to have those particular data sets or information in order to answer these questions. I might put forth that there's 5 financial personality types. Try to figure out what you might be. So some of us are multi-personality when it comes to finances. Some of us might blend. There's hardly anyone that's purely one or the other. But they kind of speak for themselves. Spend or spend. You make money, you're going to spend money. It comes and it goes right back out. Savers are going to look for a bargain. They're going to save money. They're going to put money away for later, rainy day, emergency fund. Risk averse are going to try to plan ahead. They don't want to take risks. They're going to mitigate that risk.
We are very pleased today to present Women Driving Their Financial Future with Beth Prudence. Beth Prudence is actually global. She was originally raised in Rochester, New York, and came to Cornell University in the fall of 1984. She pursued academics as an independent studies major in the College of Human Ecology. So she actually got to choose her coursework and subjects that sparked her interest and diversified her educational experience. During her senior year, she moved to New York City to experience working in fashion and design. But she came back to upstate New York to launch a 20-plus career in personal finance. This has allowed her to be an active participant in the Ithaca community, and she has past board member experiences at the Tompkins County Public Library Foundation, the Child Development Council, the McGraw House, and with Ithaca Montessori School, Cornell's College of Human Ecology, and she's also the president of the Cornell Club of the Ithaca area. So throughout her long career in finance, she's held many roles, and she works to help people make good decisions when it comes to their money. Hopefully she'll be able to help us with that today a little bit. She's passionate about organizing and analyzing finances, setting goals, and helping people develop strategies for financial plans. She currently works at Morgan Stanley, where she joined in May 2014, and she's lead advisor of the Blenrock team, where she serves as vice president, financial advisor, portfolio management director, and a certified financial planner practitioner. Please join me in welcoming Beth today, and we'll get the presentation started.
Thank you, Marika. That was very nice. It sound pretty good. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. So I don't know how many of you were able to attend the last speaker series. I was here and had the honor to listen to the talk by Dr. Susan Anderer. And her talk was how to successfully launch into your adult life. So this is an appropriate follow-up to that because some of the characteristics that she pointed out that help you successfully launch to adulthood were becoming financially independent and managing your own finances. To achieve any of those steps, what we have to do is think and spend some time and energy kind of around money and what money means to us. You know, why is this important? And I think you know why this is important, but I want to point out a few things for you. Mainly marriages. Money has a lot to do with decisions to get married or perhaps to end marriages. My husband was listening to this speech when I was preparing, and he said, well, why don't you tell her what I tell everybody else? And I'm like, oh, great. So he says, I married the first time for romance, the second time for finance. So we know money has a lot to do with partnerships and families. Also, the decision to have children, not to have children perhaps, how to raise our children. Maybe the decision of buying a home, where we're going to live, or money could have a factor in where we can't live, even though we would like to live there because it's possibly too expensive for us. Money has a factor in choosing a career. I'll tell you a personal fact on that, and that's my own story. So as you heard from Marika, I was down in New York City, and fashion industry, thought it would be fun. Decided New York City wasn't for me, so I got into marketing and advertising. I was here working in Ithaca in marketing and advertising. Do you think I could move up in marketing and advertising in Ithaca, New York? I don't think so. So I had a decision to make. I either had to move if I wanted to further my career or make more money. So money was a big factor in that decision. And that's what got me actually into the financial world. As I wanted to stay here in Ithaca, I just met my now husband. And this was a career that I could move up and also make more money. So money comes into a lot of our decisions in life. And you know, maybe it came into your decision to come here to Cornell for grad school. I don't know. Also, we know money buys things. Money buys stuff. But I might argue that money can also play a role in perhaps buying time. How do you say? You can't go to the grocery store and buy time. Time can't be generated, you know, time flies by and it's gone. But think of it this way, just a small example. You pay somebody to clean your house. You're actually buying yourself more time because that would have been time that you would have spent cleaning your house. Perhaps money buys power, respect maybe. But we know for sure that money changes lives. It can be positive, it can be negative. So I thought it was important that maybe we spend a little time talking about money, because money is important. Now, I have an agenda. You can forget the fourth part of this agenda, compliance goals. I can't change the presentation, so it's up there for compliance purposes, but I'm going to concentrate on 1, 2, and 3 with you today. My goal is to help you think and understand how your feelings and emotions about money affect how you act. So let's talk a little bit about a relationship with money. One of the things to think about is, how does money make you feel? Some families never try or never even attempt to talk about money with their kids. And I bet you don't go up to somebody in a networking event and say, hi, my name is Beth, how much money do you make? You know, that's taboo, that's not what we do. So a lot of times we're raised really not talking or learning much about money. Like Dr. Anner said, you know, when we launch into adult life, we need the skills to, you know, prosper and be successful as an adult. And one of the things is education about those things that we're going to face. How many of you might have had a financial planning course in high school? Raise your hand. 2. How many of you have been able to take, I think there's one personal financial planning course left in Cornell. How many of you have taken that one? 1. So 34 years ago when I was here, at Cornell, I'm still here in Ithaca, but at Cornell, there was a personal financial planning course. I won't tell you what I got in it, but there was a personal financial planning course. And that was very helpful, gave you the basics. So many of us are launching into our adult lives with no kind of basis for how to handle money. And you know, it can be very complicated, and you can see here, if you want answers to these questions, you need data, you need information, you need to know how to tackle these questions. And most of us aren't given the resources or given the opportunity to have those particular data sets or information in order to answer these questions. I might put forth that there's 5 financial personality types. Try to figure out what you might be. So some of us are multi-personality when it comes to finances. Some of us might blend. There's hardly anyone that's purely one or the other. But you know, they kind of speak for themselves. Spend or spend. You make money, you're going to spend money. It comes and it goes right back out. Savers are going to look for a bargain. They're going to save money. They're going to put money away for later, rainy day, emergency fund. Risk averse are going to try to plan ahead. They don't want to take risks. They're going to mitigate that risk. If you're a gambler, you're usually a risk taker. You're going to act spontaneously. You're going to spend money based on gut feeling. I haven't met many flyers. Of course, I'm in a business that everybody talks about money, but these are the people that really don't think about money at all. They go along in life, and money doesn't seem to be a big factor. Out of everything that's going on in your lives right now, I bet you experience stress at some point, or at every point. And money can cause stress as well. And the whole key is to take the stress out of money matters and money decisions if you can. Too much stress obviously is not good. We all know that. There was a study done in 2017 with employees, and it asked them to respond to, do you feel stressed? Over half of the people felt financially stressed or felt stressed about their finances. There was another study done about retirement confidence, and a third of the people, almost a third of the people, felt either mental or emotional stress when it came to retirement. Now, this could result in problems, real problems. You've probably experienced how this can affect your body, your mind, your ability to work. Why add money stress to all the other stressors that you have? I mean, these are true issues that can come up if you're dealing with stress. As women, I know there's one or two males in the room, but I'm talking mostly to the women here. As women, unfortunately, we even face more roadblocks when it comes to money. You've probably heard it. You've been probably inundated with it, being a female graduate student at Cornell University. But unfortunately, women are the ones that usually have a break from service in the workplace. So, and that could be either having a child or perhaps caring for a loved one. But it is proven and researched, and it is a fact that usually it's the woman that takes that break from work and working. Not always, but almost always. Also, women have earned less on average and keep earning less on average than their male counterparts. And you've probably heard it over and over. We've made some strides, but we're not there yet where we have equality. So if you put those two together, a break from service where you're not earning money, you're taking a break from the workforce, and you have less ability to earn as much money, we have one other major factor in the fact that we live longer on average than our male counterparts. So not only do we have to save more, and we have less ability to put that money away and to save. And in turn with that, because you're breaking from the workforce, you're not making as much money, you are not having as much credit put into the Social Security system, and you're going to get less Social Security. And it becomes a vicious cycle that we're trying to break, but we haven't been able to break that yet. So we know money is emotional and can bring out emotion, can affect emotion. So how does this ultimately shape the habits that we have surrounding money and affect the actions that we take? I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story on this. So Marika told you that I was in New York City, and this goes to how do you feel when a bank account balance gets low. I was in New York City as an intern, not making any money, scraping by, and we're all together as a group because we met, all the interns there met as a group, and we were going to attend this event, and it's $10 to attend the event. Well, I didn't carry any cash with me. I was, scraping every penny that I had to live in New York. So I had $18 in my bank account. How many people think that's a low balance? But you know what? The minimum ATM withdrawal is $20. I know they have 10s in there. I really do believe they have 10s in there, but minimum 20. So I couldn't get at my money. I had to go borrow that money in order to attend that event. So how do you think I felt? First, I was really frustrated. I couldn't get my money. It was my money. The bank had my money, and I couldn't get at my money. I couldn't pay my own way. I was mad at the bank for holding my money, that they should have been able to give me. It was after hours. I couldn't go in a bank and get it. But also ashamed that I didn't have the money, and embarrassed that I actually had to ask, one of the other people there for that money. So you can see how something like that can bring about emotions and a variety of emotions. So I wish I had a corresponding for the second one, where it says, how would you feel if you won the lottery? But I don't. I haven't won the lottery. I think you have to play the lottery to win the lottery. But let's talk about the lottery, because lottery was in the news, right? How many of you bought a ticket? Was it Mega Millions when it was $1.6 billion? Raise your hand. Really? Oh, I thought it would be 11. Now, how many of you that bought a ticket, was it the first time you ever bought a ticket? Nobody. Interesting. I would have thought there would have been more hands up. But, what's the difference between 50 million and 1.6 billion? Do you think you would feel more excited, more happy between 50 and 1.6? you know, the number of people that came out to buy lottery tickets when it hit that 1.6 billion was like astronomical. You know, you would think that, hey, I think 50 million would change my life and make things different, that they would have bought them when they were 50. So you would think that everybody would be buying lottery tickets all the time. But you know, that's how money kind of controls things, controls your actions, controls what you're feeling, what you're doing. So, although most families don't talk about money, or when you're growing up, whoever's caring for you, you know, money's really not one of the main topics that you talk about. Your money habits are often shaped through your experience growing up. You know, did your parents give you everything you want, not really talk about money, and you didn't have to worry about money? Did you struggle growing up and money was an issue? Did your parents argue about money? So those shape the way that you act and feel about money. Also, your education. They say, you know, more educated people perhaps can make better decisions. But there's a few misconceptions up here on the slide about money. So I talked about the fact that, you know, my ATM story brought up a bunch of emotions. Now, how can emotions actually trigger you to do something? So, you know, if you're sad, what makes you feel better? A couple clicks on Zappos? That's my husband. He's the shoe guy. I'm not the shoe guy. But I like new edge, new purse. So that would make me happy. How many of you have made a spending decision purely on emotion? See? So these things can actually, emotions can actually create you to act when it comes to money decisions and spending decisions. As a parent, I can tell you that I can speak to guilt. And as a working parent, you know, when I'm not there for something that happens in my child's life, and then they ask for something when we are together, you know, that guilt may actually have me spending the money that I wouldn't spend to make. I think that makes me feel better, but I'm not so sure. They probably would rather have their mom around, but it makes me feel better. So one of the things that really can hurt us, though, is actually the pursuit of money. You know, trying to make more money, trying to go after money. There are people that actually go broke buying lottery tickets. You know, trying to, that pursuit, that trying to get money and trying to make a big payoff. We need money to live, obviously. And money can make life easier. But if you let the pursuit of money consume you, then it's going to be a problem. For instance, most of us think if you're making a lot of money, you're rich. I would argue that we make more money, we spend more money. Have you ever, you probably have been in a situation maybe before you got your grad stipend or however you get paid as a graduate student. Did it feel a little different when you weren't getting paid as an undergrad student? And now you had a little bit of cash flow? Now you feel a little different. Are you spending more money, or are you putting that extra money away? So, you know, think about it. Just because you make more money, it doesn't necessarily make you a richer person. We have social media all around us. So it's the keeping up, not keeping up with the Joneses, it's keeping up with the Facebook posts. You know, you see your friend going on some exotic vacation, or the new car, or the new house that they bought. You know, we're all constantly thinking that we have to keep up, and social media bombards us with that. Money can be an addiction. Just like food, alcohol, drugs, money can cause problems, and you have more money to feel better, and it can really cause issues with getting into where you're stealing money or finding ways to get money that's not good. And it can really hurt a person. We're in the age of instant gratification. How many of you carry cash to spend for groceries? Nobody. No fun. Okay, good. You know, cash still is accepted, but we've gone from cash, which took a little time. You had to bring the cash with you, pay the cash, and you know, it was a longer transaction, to putting your card, you probably don't remember this, putting your card on the machine and they slide the machine across and you know, you have to sign and they give you a receipt, to, okay, we can swipe our card now in the machine and then we have to sign. Now you can swipe but you don't have to sign, that's even faster. Oh, put the chip in, the chip is quick. Now all we have to do is wave it in the air somewhere, and, you know. So, boom, instant. Zappos, my husband orders today, he gets it tomorrow, it's instant. So this feeds the problem with wanting to spend and getting this instant gratification. I can't tell you, I didn't look up the exact statistics, but I know that, you know, star athletes can make tons of money. And I think the statistics was about half of them are bankrupt within 5 years of finishing their career. You know, lottery winners. Hardly any of the people that have won lottery are actually passing it to the next generation. You don't think you could spend that? I could find a way to spend $1.6 billion. So we know now how emotions kind of get conjured up when we talk about money. We know how the emotions that we have surrounding money can affect the way we act. So I think it's my job, maybe, to put some ideas in your head to maybe change the way you think, maybe even feel, and act, hopefully, when it comes to money. First, we have to improve our relationship with money. Just like any other relationship, you gotta work on it. You gotta take some time, you gotta understand it, you gotta recognize it, and then you've got to work on it and spend some time on it. Honor and respect money. Respect the emotions that are surrounding money, both for yourself and for others. You need to educate yourself. There are lots of ways now. I remember having a conversation with somebody at Cornell because I really wanted to bring the financial planning class back to human ecology. And you know, the thought was that Cornell University was a research university, which it is, and you know, you guys didn't pay to come here to learn practical things. But there are resources. There are resources on campus. There are resources in the community. You have all the resources at your fingertips with the internet nowadays. Some of it good, some of it not so good, but you know, spend the time to educate yourself. You also have to understand your situation. This particular slide lists about 12 things to kind of think about, or items that could possibly help improve your relationship. I want to kind of concentrate on 3 of them. The first one, as females, is forgive the bad. We are probably our hardest critic, our worst critic. And you know, we get ourselves down when we make mistakes. I know I do. So, you know, forgive yourself. As long as it's not a mistake that's going to really devastate you financially, we're all going to make mistakes. So forgive yourself. You're going to have to, you know, accept that you made a mistake, recognize it, own it, and learn from it. And try not to make that same mistake again. I think one of my main jobs with my clients is not necessarily to make the perfect decision every time, because in many situations there isn't one right decision, especially when it comes to money. We don't know what the future will bring. You know, we don't know how much we'll need. You know, there's so many unknowns in the future that the best thing you can do is make the best decision that you can for the time period that you're in. But I can help them not make the wrong decision, or a decision that will financially devastate them. So, you know, give yourself some credit and forgive yourself for making a mistake. Understand the difference between wants and needs. And as soon as you do that, come to my 14-year-old son, and you can teach him that too. You know, at that stage of life, they don't know the difference. We all, at this stage of life, should at least recognize the difference. Maybe we don't act the right way when we know the difference, But, I'll give you a little example. A sweat. So you go shopping and you see a designer sweater that you just have to have. And I'm dating myself because I actually put down on my card $100. Sweaters, designer sweater probably would be more than $100. But let's just say the sweater is $100. And it's 50% off. Wow, what a bargain. I gotta have that sweater. I don't want it, I need it. I need that sweater. Of course, I have 5 other perfectly fine sweaters in the closet. Okay, so you decide, you buy the sweater. You don't have money right now, so you use your credit card to buy that sweater. Swipe, sweater. Credit card bill comes. You pay the minimum. All right, so we have a $100 sweater that was 50% off. I paid $50 for that sweater. I paid the minimum on the credit card. It takes me 6 years to pay that off if I keep paying the minimum. And now I paid $165 for that sweater. If you had all that information when you were standing there in front of that sweater, might you have made a different decision? Or at least gone about it a different way? So that's what I want you to take with you, is just think about it. And this is the other point, is seek clarity. What's clarity? This is a good idea for any one of the decisions that you have to make. Where you're going to take your first position, anything and where you're going to live. Seek clarity. Almost all our decisions in life are not dire. They don't have to be made right now. With this instant gratification life, we're thinking that we have to make a decision so quickly, but we don't. Step back. Think about it. Think of how that's going to affect you today and how that's going to affect you tomorrow. And I think that will shape exactly how and what decision you end up making. You can avoid the knee-jerk. Okay, I lost it. Can I turn it off? Not low display. Oh, the battery's low. Is it touch screen? Okay, maybe I can get through it. I'll have like 10 minutes. Oh no, all right, that's all right.
Back up laptop.
Avoid knee-jerk reactions, and this is just stepping back to that idea of clarity. So, slow down, separate fact from fiction, try to be objective. So, whatever your current family dynamic, if it's you and a partner, maybe you and your roommate, you and your parents, still if you're, very close and still, either living with your parents or corresponding with your parents, you and your kids, you and your dog, maybe. So I use my dog for this presentation, so she's an expert on this. But, have meaningful conversations. If you can take the time to have some meaningful conversations, any family or group or company that has very effective conversations when it comes to money ends up being the entity that can take care of all the obstacles and things that are thrown at you in life when it comes to your money. You want to set goals. Dr. Adiner's talked about setting goals for your life and launching into adulthood, and part of that was setting goals, and that would help you. That's the same thing with money and finances. Set goals, short-term goals and long-term goals, and track those goals. Graph. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay, thanks.
So you'll have to.
Okay, I'll click. That's fine, sorry. No, that's okay. Thank you. What happens, right? And this is interesting. I know you guys are far away from retirement, and we're going to talk a little bit of retirement only because I'm going to put it in context for you in just a second. But this just illustrates that not always what we expect to happen will happen. So there was a poll done, and employees were asked, when they expect to retire. And 76% of them said that they were going to work beyond age 65. Well, in reality, when they got to there, only 23% actually did work beyond age 65. And it just shows, you know, you can plan and you can expect certain things to happen and they don't always happen. Also, there's an illustration on how your spending changes. You know, you go online and you'll probably see a lot of places that say, you know, you should be making about 85% of what you're making now in retirement, you know, in your high income years. But I will argue that most of us need more in retirement than we're making now, and there's several factors that come into that. A few tips. Pay yourself first. So a lot of people, they get paid, they pay all their bills, buy what they want, and then they think they're going to have money left over, and half the time they don't have any money left over. So pay yourself first. Take advantage of tax benefits. It's a whole nother seminar, so I'm not going to get into all the nuances of that. Save now. And this one's very powerful. I will tell you that if I could go back in time and know what I know now, back when I was your age, I probably wouldn't be up here speaking to you as an employee of Morgan Stanley. I'd be retired, multi-millionaire. I can almost guarantee that. We don't say guarantee very often in our business. But if you can start now, you will ultimately be able to set your own path for what you want to do. There's two powerful advantages that you have that I can never get back. And that's the time value of money and the power of compounding. And you've probably seen these figures before, but this is just a very small example of what these two advantages really mean to you. And if you can take away from this of starting early. And let me just point this out. So you can see it on the slide. John, he starts at age 40. He saves $3,500 a year. And he saves that for 25 years. So he stops at age 65. Jane, smart female, she starts saving at age 25. She saves the same amount of years, 25 years. And she stops at age 50. She's in her highest earning years. She's having a great time from 50 to 65. They saved exactly the same amount of money, made exactly the same amount of money as far as interest and earnings on their money. But look at the difference. That is the value of time. 34 years I could have saved if I had bought Apple 34 years ago. That's where I'd be. I do. I have a client who actually bought Apple, put $2,000 in Apple and just left it there. And I think he left it there for 27 years, and he now has $2 million. So, you know, that kind of example probably I wouldn't recommend, because as a financial planner, you want to diversify. But think about it. You can save very little now compared to what it would take me to save at age 52 to equal what you're going to be able to save and have when you're age 65 or whatever. Maybe you shoot for 55. Or look at Jane. She could have retired at 50. Who knows? That's the good news. This is the bad news. Credit cards. How many of you have one credit card? Keep your hand up if you have two. How about three? How about four? Okay, interesting. Credit cards are probably one of the best financial inventions ever. It's easy. It's safe. You're not got a lot of money that you have to carry around. You get a credit card. They are also the worst thing that you can get in trouble with. And I don't know if anybody's already experienced it, but try not to. If you are using a credit card and borrowing money, that means you can't afford what you're borrowing. Think about that. So there's needs and wants, and I understand that you have to take care of the needs, but be careful with the wants in using credit cards. And I gave you the sweater example. If you have a balance, let me just give you a couple ideas. Don't charge anymore. Stop using your credit card. Repay the highest interest first. Okay? If you need to play the game where you can transfer to no interest, great, but you've got to pay it off. Pay more than the minimum. The only reason they set those minimums is so they can make money on it. The bank is making money on you. And negotiate better terms. You can pick up the phone and negotiate better terms. If you're a smart user of credit card, then hopefully you're paying on time. You pay the full balance every month. Everybody tells you to get the low interest credit card. I don't care what interest you get. I don't look at the interest rate. I get the best points. I want the best rewards. So if you want airline miles or money back or whatever, because if you're paying every month, it doesn't matter. And never take a cash advance. Just, if you don't want to get in trouble, credit cards can really ruin somebody's life. So, I just want to point out a couple more things because I want to leave a couple of minutes for questions. I just wanted to leave this slide up because these are things that you should be thinking about, and I'll tell you why in just a second. You know, cash flow and budgeting, that's now. You should be practicing that. You're going to need to educate yourself about insurance, health, life, disability, investments, estate planning, wills, healthcare proxies, and power of attorneys, and financial planning, long term. Why? One of these days you're going to get a job, and hopefully that job has benefits. Maybe you have benefits now, but you're given 30 days to make a decision about these benefits. Where are you? How much are you going to invest in your 401k, 403b, profit sharing? Where are you going to invest in? Okay, so you need to be educated about this. You're going to probably get life insurance. You're going to need to pick short-term or long-term disability, and how much is it going to cost? You know, you're going to need to name a beneficiary, so you should be familiar with these particular things. So I'm hopeful that all of this can help you. And one of the things that I have to put up here, since we're videotaping, is the disclosure. I was asked to tell you that if you are not part of the Cornell Women's Network on LinkedIn, that it might be a good idea that you become part of that. You can get some information from that. You can maybe network for that. And you can reach out to me directly anytime, but I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions, so thank you. Yes, and if you could just speak up, that would be great.
Thank you for this seminar. It was really informative. So my question is, I think when you're working and you're saving into your 401k, it's a little bit easier. But as grad students, we don't have those tools at our fingertips. So what personal investing would you suggest for us to use right now?
Okay. So the question was, you know, when you do get a job, you get a 401k, and it's easy to invest in the 401k, but if you don't have the access to that, what possibly could you invest in now? So I was just having a discussion with Marika about the different ways that all of you guys get paid. Some of that qualifies as earned income, some of that doesn't qualify as earned income. I think first and foremost, if you do qualify for earned income and you want to put away money for long term, take advantage of a Roth IRA. That's the one thing that came out of Congress that actually was a good thing. So if you have the ability to invest long term in a Roth IRA while you still qualify, I would suggest that that would be the first thing to look at. And you know, it all depends on if you're doing short-term or long-term goals and what you're saving for. But you know, you have the availability to invest into mutual funds either through IRAs or through non-retirement accounts. Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, easy ways to invest. And you know, again, it all depends on your particular situation as to what kind of mutual funds or what kind of investments you should invest in. But if you can take advantage of a Roth IRA, and basically what it is, you put money in, you don't get a tax break now, but it's tax-free in the future. And I doubt they could ever take that away from you. They might take the availability for new ones to be created later on, but I doubt they could take away the ones that were already started. If I could do a Roth IRA, I would do it. At some point in your life, you are going to phase out of even being able to add to a Roth IRA. Yes?
So for graduate students who are ineligible for a Roth IRA, we also don't have the availability to invest in like a 401(k)(3)B or whatever.
403B or 457 or 401k, no.
So
no.
in that case, what would you recommend?
Yeah, if you have money to put away, then you can do a non-retirement account. So maybe save up money, so when you do qualify for earned income, you can do an IRA, and you have money to invest in an IRA, because you can move it from a regular investment account to a retirement investment account. But so if you're not putting the money away for more than 3 or 4 years, I would not invest in the market. I think 3 or 4 years is probably the least amount of time that I would say you would want to leave money at least invested. So if not, CD rates are coming up. You can invest in savings, money markets, or CDs if you're just holding money for short term. Those are great short-term instruments. Other questions? Oh, you guys are easy.
Oh, there's one here.
Oh, sorry, yes.
You mentioned that we can negotiate better terms with the bank. Could you elaborate?
Yeah, so she asked about negotiating better terms. In almost all cases, you know, if you complain, it's like the squeaky wheel, you know, gets heard, that you can call up and say, listen, you know, I'm having trouble paying this, or I think this interest rate's too high. Just because they set that interest rate doesn't mean you have to actually pay that interest rate. You can ask them for a lower interest rate. Or you can even go to another card, perhaps with no interest, for a teaser rate and transfer over. But again, you gotta be careful. You don't wanna be doing that over and over and over. The whole idea is paying it off. And if you don't think that you have the discipline to pay that off and you're gonna charge it more, I would get rid of your credit cards, go to the bank, get a loan that will end, and it's not a revolving line of credit, and get that out from under you. So you'll pay a little bit more interest, but you'll be done. You'll have an ending point. Yes?
For investments like IRA, where would you go to like initiate the process?
Okay, so the question was investments like IRA. How do you start an IRA? Where do you go? Online. So, you know, if you want to go talk to somebody, you can go into a bank, you can go to Morgan Stanley, you can go to Wells Fargo, you can go to Merrill Lynch, you can go in and talk to anybody. Most often you can go in and talk, and there's no charge. So you can ask questions, pick somebody's brain for about an hour until they kick you out, but knowing that you're not going to invest with them. But online is probably the easiest way. You know, again, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, those are probably the biggest ones. There's others, but you can do it yourself and not pay any fees. And those are places that you can go. You can learn all about it. They'll tell you all about it, what you can invest in. You can even invest in IRA in a bank. You can go walk into Tompkins Trust, M&T, and say, I want to open an IRA. But hopefully that IRA is for long term, and I wouldn't suggest you invest it in a bank. I would suggest you invest it into the market and into something that has the potential to grow. Yes?
You mentioned the importance of educating ourselves on kind of the next steps, and then also the importance of learning the differences between mutual funds and ETFs and whatnot, but also that those will depend on individual circumstances.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if you would have advice on how to educate ourselves best and how to approach that.
Yeah, you know, I would say attend seminars when you have the ability to attend seminars. There's all kinds of seminars that are offered, even in this small community. You can go online. As an employee at Cornell, I think you have the ability to go on the Cornell website, which is the benefits website. They have tutorials, podcasts. I know benefits is even rolling out more. I think they have something called Financially Fit or Financial Fitness, where you can go online and actually do some tutorials and take little quizzes and things like that. But Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, and Fidelity, they all have, you know, educational material on their websites to be able to get that information. You know, if you want to walk in to talk to somebody one-on-one, you can go into a bank or an investment brokerage, and again, you can probably get an hour of picking somebody's brain about, you know, what to do. I would be a little wary if you're only investing for the first time to invest with somebody that is going to charge you a large fee. If you came into my office, I would definitely tell you how to do it, but I would chew you out and say, listen, this is the best way to do it. You don't have to pay me to do it. Best thing for you, yes?
I had another question about the Roth IRA. Like, there's a maximum contribution.
Yep.
If you don't have that amount of money to invest, is it still worth it to put like $500? $1,000?
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's a maximum contribution you can invest every year into a Roth IRA. The question was, should you invest less if you can't max it out? Absolutely. And I can show you what $500 a year over the next 30 years would equal. So if you can't do the max, do what you can. I think most mutual fund companies or investment companies take a minimum of maybe $1,000. However, if you start an automatic monthly investment, some of them go as low as $50 a month. So, yep, great way to start saving with doing it monthly and automatic. So it happens. Yes.
So what would you recommend would be a good split between investments in say markets and other instruments and insurance?
Which one should you concentrate on? Again, I'm sorry to do this, but it depends. It really depends on your circumstances and what's a priority for you. In most cases, the hierarchy is you want an emergency savings account just in case something happens, or you're not earning money. You definitely need some kind of health insurance, catastrophic health insurance. And then the next thing is starting to invest into your long-term retirement. And then after that, it's doing some non-retirement investments. And then it's, it kind of goes on itself. But that could all switch depending on what somebody's priorities are. Somebody like me that has children and a mortgage and things like that, life insurance is a little bit more important to me because I'm earning money right now, and if something happened to me, that would be devastating to my family. So it all depends on your situation. I'm going to take this one first. Yes.
So the general rule of thumb for long-term investing in retirement is that you kind of want to start with more aggressive in terms of like what markets or shares or stocks or whatever you're choosing to allocate your
Yes.
funds to, and then get a little bit more conservative as you approach retirement age. Is that a good rule of thumb, or is it kind of outdated, or should we have multiple where one is aggressive and perhaps one is a little bit more conservative for a short-term or mid-term range kind of deal?
So the question was, the general rule is you're more aggressive the more time you have, and then as you get closer and closer to needing the money, you're less aggressive. I would say as a general rule, that is true. But again, it depends on your situation. There are some people that have to continue to be aggressive in order to make their goals. There are some people that have certain amount of money that they don't need to be aggressive from the get-go. They can be less aggressive. But I would say the longer term you have, these ups and downs in the market don't affect you as long as the market is on an upward trend. If you're taking money out of the market, these ups and downs affect you a great deal. It's called the sequencing of returns. I don't know, some of you may even deal with this in some of your calculations, but when you're thinking about that, then yes, being less aggressive because you can't recover from a downturn. So what happened in 2008 with all the people that lost all their money, if you had your money 100% invested in stocks right before the crash and you were going to retire the next year, I bet you probably didn't retire. So that's why you probably don't want 100% invested aggressive. But the more aggressive you are, the longer term you have, yes, that's generally a good rule. Yes. Yes.
In the case for married couples, for instance, we do have the gender pay gap. For instance, my husband's an engineer, he earns way more than I do. How does savings, do you have any recommendation? Because he'll be able to save more than me.
Stay married?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more capacity to save.
Yeah. So she was talking about the fact that her husband has much more earning power than she has right now. That happens all the time. We generally like to see assets as best as possible as you get older and older and older, get somewhat equalized. Depends. It used to be more important when the estate tax was different. But yeah, the thing is I don't know if you look at yourselves as a couple or as one entity, or you keep your stuff separate. I have some couples who keep their stuff separate, so we look at saving as a proportion of the total. But if you keep yourselves together as one, then the general rule is you want to be saving about 15 to 20% of your earnings by the time you're in your mid-30s to be able to make your retirement as prosperous as possible. But that happens all the time, so you got to feel what's right for you and your situation, and stay married with him, or if not, you we've been together, have a good divorce lawyer, so.
What about investing long-term in real estate, like to be a landlord? Who you talk to, like you don't know anything about that, but you're interested?
Yeah.
Investment, would a financial advisor be specific in that?
Yeah, so, most financial advisors, me included, there are ways to invest in real estate, but as far as being a direct investor in real estate and a landlord, we don't advise on that because it's not under our umbrella of things that we help people. We do help people invest in real estate just through other products to invest in real estate. But where can you get some information? I would talk to local real estate agents, and there is a landlord association here. You can get involved in that landlord association, and they have monthly meetings. Direct investing in real estate and being a landlord, a financial advisor may not help you much with that. They're going to want to help you with your core portfolio, and I would say that you want your core portfolio taken care of kind of first before you go in that route, unless that's what you know a lot about and you're comfortable with that.
I had a few years of work experience before I started grad school, so I just have a 401k that's sitting there.
Yep.
Is that waiting for me when I come back? And is there something I can
Will it wait
be
for you?
doing?
Yeah, so the question is, she has a 401k from an old job before she came into grad school, and she's wondering if that 401k will still be there or wait for her. Yeah, generally I would say if you're not going back to that particular company, that you should probably take control of that account. And in most cases, it depends on the plan document, you can roll that over to your own IRA. And I would take control of it, so you don't have to worry about going through that company or, so take control of it, roll over to an IRA, it's a non-taxable event. And then, instead of just the investment choices that 401k has, you have the whole investment world to invest that money in. And you have more, a few more options as far as beneficiary designations and things like that. So I would suggest an old 401k where you're not going back there, and many of us, this is my 6th career, I think. So, many of us have many of them out there, different companies, you can roll them all into one IRA. So I would suggest maybe taking control of that a little bit more. Question over here?
We haven't talked at all about student loans, and as a graduate student, like my loans are deferred, but that might not be the case for everyone. And
Yep.
so how do you balance knowing that you have this debt to repay after you graduate with wanting to save and invest?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's an interesting balance. But you need to get out of debt in order to save because you cannot use your debt for retirement. So, so I would say it depends on your situation and your cash flow. But think of what you're living on now. Think of what you have the potential to make. Take that difference and pay off those student loans as fast as you possibly can. You can also consolidate. You can also possibly, depending on the kind of loan, put them all into one and roll into something that gets you a lower interest rate. But yeah, I would say you're going to have to work on budgeting and being really serious about balancing that. The one thing I will say is when you do get to a job and you have a 401k, if you have a match, let's just say they match 3% of what you put in, I would do the 3% in the 401k because that match is new money. I mean, that's 100% return on your money. But then usually I tell people, let's concentrate on paying off your debt with the rest of your cash flow. But you're going to have to create that cash flow to pay that down as soon as possible.
I really appreciated your advice, just go online and recommending resources to us who don't have much capital to be playing with.
Yep.
At what point do you recommend down the road for some of us that may be hopefully not making nothing, to get a financial planner like Morgan Stanley or something involved? Would it be 10 years down the road? Is there a number?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a general rule.
Okay.
I'm working with people that are, in their early 20s, and I'm working with people that are in their 90s, and for the first time. So it depends. I would say when you get to the point that either you don't have the time and energy to look at those, or you maybe accumulated enough that it seems like this is serious money to you, that would be a good time to start talking to an advisor. But again, I'm telling you, you can go in and talk to somebody for an hour. Hopefully you get somebody that's good at what they do, and they will tell you whether you need them or not. But be wary of fees. And usually, you know, you can get some good advice from somebody for going in there for an hour without having to pay for it. Yes?
Just to follow up, depending on where you work, they may already have hired Morgan Stanley and they're paying them to give you advice.
That's right. Yeah, many companies do that. They hire people to give you. And at companies, if they have a 401k, they have to educate you. That's part of having a 401k. So you do have access to that person who is overseeing your 401k. Yeah, thank you.
Is it true that canceling out a credit card affects your credit score, even if it's zero balance?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. But it doesn't mean not to do it. Okay. There are better ways to make your credit better. So if you've got too many and you want to cancel one out, you know, cancel it. And having too many open is also a negative. So you have to be careful the way the checks and balances to do it. But if you're not using a card for a very long period of time, I would get it off your credit.
How do you monetize convenience things? So if you live somewhere that's really far away, the bus system doesn't work very well. How do you decide, oh, if I move closer, it'll be this much more in rent, but maybe it's worth it because now I have the convenience of not having to get a lift every day?
Yep. So she's talking about making decisions on where to live versus having to travel and the amount of money that difference is. Again, that was like the clarity, issue. You need to sit down and you need to really monetize those particular things. And not just what money. I mean, being that far away may be hard because you don't get to spend much time with your family. So I think it's a matter of sitting down and almost putting the pluses and minuses on paper and what it costs to drive from here to there. What does it cost for a bus pass, or what does it cost to get to the bus station, or what does it cost, to rent the higher rent closer in versus farther out. So, and not every decision is solely based on money.
Right.
So you also have to take other factors into play. Now, I'm going to stay here if anybody has any other questions, but it's 1:30, so certainly if people want to leave.
Thank you.